The high school preview show presented by Gold Athletics. I'm your host, John Sarianides. And as always, I'm joined by my partners, Tyler Amaral and Mukala Kabongo. Good evening, gentlemen. How are you?
Feeling great.
Doing great.
It's playoff time. Yeah, it's hard to believe that it's playoff time. I feel like we've only been doing this show now for about a month, and we still have another half of the regular season to go. But it is indeed playoff time in Maine, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island. The playoffs are entering their second week in Vermont. Connecticut still has a couple weeks left in their regular season before their playoffs kick off after Thanksgiving. Before we preview this week's games, both here in Massachusetts, and we'll preview some of the top matchups out of state, I do want to remind you that we are brought to you by Gold Athletics. Winter coaches, your season is around the corner. If you need that last-minute fundraiser to generate some revenue for your program, visit goldathletics.com today. Matt Ross and his team have a variety of fundraisers that you can do to help you raise money and raise money fast. Want to make that money? Visit goldathletics.com today. All right, gentlemen, we're going to jump right into this. I don't want to, talk about this is a big week for this, a big week for that. It's playoff time here in Massachusetts. We're going to get right into it. We're going to start with Division I. The number one seed is St. John's Prep. Before we get into the games, I'm going to take a look at each matchup in each division. Any surprises there that the Prep is the number one seed? I suspect that none of us are surprised by that. They've been pretty dominant all season.
They've been dominant, and they have wins over Springfield Central, wins over CM. No surprise there at all. They're the best team in the state entering the postseason.
Yeah, they've been dominant all year. This is a team that actually has a chip on their shoulder from last season, what happened last season. So they've been playing like that all year.
Yeah, Mukala, I think you put it perfectly, man, with the chip on their shoulder comment. I agree. I think this is a team that's been on a mission all year. They've flown under the radar, though. I don't think we've talked about them enough. They've kind of coasted along, flying under the radar. So much of the focus coming into the season was on Xaverian and Springfield Central that we kind of forgotten how good Brian St. Pierre's program is. And they reminded us of that on Saturday with a big 43-28 win over Catholic Memorial, who's the number one seed in Division II. All right, St. John's Prep opens the playoffs this week against the 16 seed Framingham State. How do you see that game playing out? And what are your thoughts on that one?
How do you think St. John's would do against Framingham State?
Did I say Framingham State?
Yeah. No, you're good. You're good. You did, but
Framingham. Framingham State, I think, would be a pretty good game for about a half, and then I think the Rams would pull away. How would they do against Framingham? Good start to the show, John.
Good for Framingham to getting here to the Division I playoffs. It's not easy to get there, but St. John's perhaps just has way too many weapons. They win this one.
Yeah, this is Coach St. Pierre and his boys. Coach St. Pierre this time around, big game. In big games, you can't bet against him. He'll have his guys ready. Chris Vargas, he's one of the many that have a chip on their shoulder because of how last season played out. So I see the Eagles moving on in this one.
Yeah, and of course they win, and as we expect they will, they're going to take on the winner of Leominster Franklin, the 8-9 matchup.
That's a good matchup right there.
This is a good one.
Yeah.
Leominster's been kind of up and down this year. But I think when you have a quarterback like Osiris Lopez, you're going to be able to stay in most games. With that said, though, Todd Kiley's done a nice job here. This is a young Franklin team. They've gotten better as the season's gone on. I've always loved how Todd Kiley has that versatility in his offense, how they go to the war package, and then they'll spread you out. I'm actually going to go with the Panthers here. I think Franklin wins this one.
This is one of those games because Leominster, they're so high-powered on offense, so they like to move that ball around down the field. I think Franklin, if they go into their wing T formation, try to control the clock, keep that Leominster offense off the field, I think they'll give themselves a good chance at winning this one. But I think Leominster has played well down the stretch of the season, and when you got a quarterback like Osiris Lopez, I think he's gonna do just enough for Leominster to pull away. But I think this will be a very close game, though.
All right, staying on that side of the bracket, the 4-13 matchup is a Base Day League matchup, Natick versus Weymouth. Weymouth got off to a really strong start, big early win against Milton, kind of tailed off there after a tough loss to Brockton. But nonetheless, Mike Donovan's squad is more than capable of going to Natick and giving this Natick team all they can handle.
I think anytime when you run an offense like wing T or single wing, you're always going to be in games just because it's not something that teams see too often. So if Weymouth's able to go in there and control the clock and put together some long drives, they can hang. Ultimately, I think Natick wins though. That running game's too tough for Natick, and then also I think Michael Whalen, he's one of the most underrated players I think in the MIAA, probably because he's not a skill guy. He's just a force as a two-way lineman. Natick wins this one.
Yeah, I'm going with Natick in this one. I think Jimmy Mortarelli is going to have a really good game. He's a really talented back. I got the chance to see him last week. I think Natick's running game will be a lot more productive than they were last Friday against Milton. So I'm going to go with Natick in this one.
All right, next up we have the 5-12 matchup. Central Catholic hosting St. John's Shrewsbury.
Yeah, Raiders are tough to get a read on. I don't think anyone really knows what to expect. They've shown they can play with anyone in the state and in the region in games against Hendricken and Zavarian, and then they also have losses against good teams, but not top 5 programs or state title contenders, teams like Methuen, things like that. So I expect Central Catholic to start on a high note here. They played well the last couple of games of the regular season. They keep that momentum going here in the first round.
Yeah, I like Central Catholic. They did a good job down the stretch of the season, closing out. I think they won 3 in a row to close out the regular season play. Their offense has really been putting up some points. Caden Smith, Caden Chase, they got a lot of playmakers, and I think this team started clicking at the right time. I got them moving on.
All right, we're going to go to the other side of the bracket. The 2-15 matchup features Springfield Central hosting Taunton.
Yeah, I think Taunton, they might be able to score early with Dylan Keenan at quarterback. He's a good player, but I think once that central staff and Coach Brower make those adjustments, they're going to be able to contain Taunton, and they're going to pull away in the second half. Central wins.
Yeah, so Central, that's another team that's they've been on a mission themselves too. They've had a really good season. The one loss, they were in control of the game until late in the game. So I think Springfield Central right now they're going to run away with this one against Taunton.
Next up, we have the 7-10 matchup, Methuen versus Lowell. I think this is the most intriguing matchup in this Division I bracket. Could end up being the best game of the weekend in the D1 playoffs. Thoughts on this one?
Yeah, this is an interesting one. 2 MVC teams that haven't played each other yet, but Lowell's the only team that's been able to give Tewksbury any semblance of a game this year. I think Lowell's probably the most underrated team in Division I. Methuen, again, they've been up and down. They've had injuries, third-string quarterback. Great story. And I agree, this is one of the top 2 games. We'll talk about another one coming up here in a second, but it should be fun. I lean Lowell, though.
Yeah, this definitely should be an entertaining Merrimack Valley Conference games. These Merrimack games have all been interesting. I mean, Tewksbury, they separated from the field, but this one is definitely a matchup of 2 evenly matched teams. I think I'm going to lean towards Lowell in this one because of their running game. They got some backs that could really do some stuff. I'm going to lean Lowell in this one.
All right, next up, we have the 3-14 matchup, a matchup that if you turn the clock back about 10, 15 years, would have been a marquee matchup, a state championship type matchup. These two have played in state title games before. Zavarian, the 3-seed, hosting 14-seeded Brockton.
I hope that within the next handful of years, this is a game that we start to see again on the regular season schedule. It was always fun, nice rivalry there between a public school and a private school. Brockton, nice story. They started off 0-5, won 3 games to end the season, got into the playoffs. They're playing good football right now, but Zavarian has too many horses. Will Wood and company roll to a win over Brockton.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I saw Zavarian in the game against Malden Catholic. They were just trying to get that game out the way, so make sure their guys were healthy. Because it was pouring rain, so they They got to win over that, but the main thing coming out of that game is their guys were healthy. No injuries in that game, so they'll be prepared for this one. And the quest for the three-peat starts now. So I'm gonna go with Zavarian on this one.
Yeah, and of course, given the fact that they're on the other side of the bracket, if they get through this part of the bracket and then they advance to the top part of the bracket, which would be Springfield Central again, it could potentially be in the same scenario they were in a couple of years ago when they played St. John's Prep on Thanksgiving and for the Super Bowl. So we'll see. Although, was that last year as well? Am I drawing a blank here? Did they play the?
No.
Needham, it was Needham last year.
It was Needham last year. Yeah, I thought so. I was originally right. All right, and final matchup, 6-11 matchup, Wachusett versus Andover.
So this is the one I think is the best game. Methuen Lowell's right there, but I think this is going to be a very fun game as well. I like this cross-sectional game here. I had some difficulty picking this one. I think Wachusett gets it done. Tom Sanderson's a good quarterback. I think he's going to make a play here down the stretch. Wachusett pulls one out by a touchdown.
Yeah, this could be a really good moment for Andover and Coach Fielding in year one to go on the road and get a staple win like this. That's why I'm going with Andover in this one.
Yep. All right, we're going to go over to Division II now, where the number one seed in Division II is Catholic Memorial. They have a bye because there weren't enough teams at the bottom of Division II to qualify with 3 wins. Now, we have all of us, I should say, last week were on record as saying that we think this is ridiculous. It's disappointing. There's 22 teams in the division. It doesn't make any sense. We don't need to rehash that argument. I think we all have pretty strong feelings on the current state of affairs with this playoff system, especially Division II. So we're going to start with the 8-9 matchup. Should be a pretty good matchup, and there's a couple of intriguing matchups in this division. 8-9 features Plymouth North at Wellesley.
Yeah, I mean, Plymouth North has Gio Lynch-Ribeiro. He's a good player. Started his career at Plymouth South. He's now over at Plymouth North. He's a good player. Plymouth North's had a nice season here, but I think Wellesley, it's a tough draw being on the, drawing CM in the second round if you win this weekend. But this Wellesley team, I still think they have skill. I think they're a talented team. Tenny Charney's a really good player. I think Wellesley wins this one going away in the second half.
Yeah, I think Wellesley's going to get this one. Probably be one of those games. Tyler said it'll be close to out, but then second half they pull away, and I mean they'll get to draw CM again if they win. They played in the semifinals last year, right?
Yep, they did. All right, next up, the 4-13 matchup features Winchester versus North Quincy. Winchester, of course, goes undefeated during the regular season. Gianni DePrimo and the Red and Black have played like and looked like the best team in Division II for most of the year, if not the best team, one of the 2 or 3 best teams. Can they make a statement here? They are on CM's side, and we have said throughout the course of the season who are a couple of teams in D2 that could potentially play with a CM or, dare I say, even knock them off? Could this be one of the teams?
So I think Winchester is the second best team in Division II. I think obviously they would have liked to have been the second or third seed to avoid playing CM for as long as possible, but it is what it is. They're the 4 seed. They're the only team in the bracket with a perfect team rating of 14. They ran through the regular season schedule, had some good wins over teams like Billerica and Masconomet.
Yep.
And I think Winchester is going to make a statement. I think they're going to be hungry here. They're going to come out with a chip on their shoulder, and they're going to win this one. They're an impressive team. You mentioned DePrimo, Brian Harrison at linebacker. There's a lot of talent on this team. Winchester's good, and they're going to win this one.
Yeah, I actually have Winchester getting all the way to the semifinals. I just like their offense. They put up a lot of points. They got to have a lot of explosive players. They make explosive plays, and they've been playing really well all year, especially when it came against good competition. They stepped up to the plate, even in the non-league game. So I got Winchester in this one.
All right, next up is the 5-12 matchup. Another team that's kind of flown under the radar. Finished at 7-1. Lincoln Sudbury. Are the Warriors back? We'll find out. They host Concord Carlisle.
Yeah, Lincoln Sudbury's a good team. They beat Concord Carlisle by 3 scores a couple weeks ago. I think it'll be a little bit closer, but I still see Lincoln Sudbury winning this one by like 14 points or so. But Lincoln Sudbury, Winchester in round 2, if that's how it plays out.
That'd
That'd be a fun one.
Yeah, I'm going Lincoln Sudbury in this one. They've been impressive all season. I caught a couple of the games on YouTube. I like what I saw from them. I'm going Lincoln Sudbury.
All right, and the other side, Bishop Fien is the 2 seed. They also have a bye, which brings us to the 7-10 matchup. Quincy versus Chelmsford. Ed DeWitt has done a great job getting the Presidents back on track here. Solid season in the Patriot League. Do they keep it going here in the playoffs against George Peterson's Chelmsford Lions?
Quincy's a funny team. They've had a great season. They started off hot. I think a lot of people were questioning the strength of schedule at that point, and then they beat Plymouth South, and then they sort of faltered down the stretch, losses to Situate and Hanover. I think they're better than they showed in those last couple of games, but overall, I think Chelmsford's a little bit more battle tested here. Give me the Lions.
Yeah, I'm going with Chelmsford in this one. Like you said, a little more battle tested, and they're pretty heavy senior. They got a big senior class too, so I'll lean towards that with them.
All right, next up we have the 3-14 matchup: Bridgewater Raynham versus Woburn. Ian Bain has got the Trojans back. They are in contention in his second year. Are they a team that could potentially get to Gillette?
For sure. I mean, they're the 3 seed, so I think I expect seeding to hold on that side of the bracket, and you're going to get Bridgewater Raynham against Bishop Fien in the state semifinals. Bridgewater Raynham, I saw them last week. They're an impressive team. It was torrential rain and some serious wind, and Jack Lambert was still out there throwing the ball. 5 turnovers, but I think a lot of that can be attributed to the rain and the sloppy conditions. But Ian Bain clearly trusts him. He's a very good quarterback. Caden Blake had 11 catches for 186 yards, I think it was in that game. So he's a tough cover. He's going to continue to be a tough cover. Trojans win this one. They'll put up a lot of points.
Yeah, Bridgewater Raynham, we talked about them early in the season, like that. This team this season will be a team to watch, especially offensively, the way they could put up points this year. And they've lived up to that expectations that we have for them. I think it's going to continue on. And that's another team. I have them going into the semifinals in Division II as well. So they'll get this win.
All right, next up we have the 6-11 matchup. Should be a pretty good matchup here. Billerica versus Beverly. Billerica coming off a big win over Methuen to close out the season, 34-32. Can they get it done here against a Beverly program that has bounced back nicely here the last couple of years?
It was an impressive win for Billerica last week. I think they're going into the playoffs with some momentum here. I think the Indians win this one and advance to play Bridgewater Raynham next week.
Yeah, Beverly has definitely had a really good season. Those quarterbacks, Danny Pierce and his receiver Floyd White, those guys have had a good connection, I think. And both teams have really been battle tested with some games this season, big conference games. But I'm going to go Beverly with the upset in this one.
All righty. Next up, we're going to go to Division III, where King Philip is the number 1 seed. The Warriors open up the playoffs hosting Chicopee Comp at home on Friday night. Chicopee Comp also undefeated. They're the 16 seed.
AP is going to win this one. This is the time of year where KP really starts to fire on all cylinders and devastate teams with that running attack and that defense. The thing about KP though is they're always talented and they're always tough, but they're never going to lose a game because they're outcoached. They're not going to beat themselves this time of year. KP is going to win this one.
Yeah, and the temperature's dropping outside. KP running game, we're going to see a heavy dose of that running game. It's going to carry them throughout this postseason. King Philip in this one.
All right.
Hey, John, how do you feel about that 6 o'clock kickoff there for a playoff game? You like that?
I'm tolerating it this week because Chicopee Comp is 2 hours away and they have a long drive to King Philip and back home. But no, I'm not a fan, to answer your question, honestly. Get it this week. If it's still the case after this week, F it, I'm going to hate it. All right, the winner of that game, and we're assuming it's going to be King Philip, is going to draw Mansfield, Plymouth North, the 8-9 matchup. Could King Philip and Mansfield rekindle acquaintances for the first time in 4 years? The last time they played was in the playoffs in 2021.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people want to see that matchup. classic Hockomock battle that we haven't gotten in a few years due to the realignment and reshuffling of the Hockomock League. Plymouth South's had a nice season. I don't think they're going to be able to go to Mansfield to win, though. Mansfield has a lot of skill. I know they lost to Canton last week, but that team still has a lot of skill. They've had some nice wins this year, namely avenging that Division III state championship loss from last year to North Attleboro. So Mansfield, they've sort of been up and down, but they've had a lot of injuries. I think they're playing better now than they were a few weeks back, though, and they're going to beat Plymouth South. But this one should be pretty competitive.
Yeah, this might be closer than what folks might think. I think Plymouth South, especially when they had some upsets earlier in the season that boosted their morale. But going to Mansfield, I think Mansfield being in the state title game last year and losing, they're trying to find their way back there. So I think Mansfield will squeak out a victory.
All right, next up we have the 4-13 matchup, one of the more intriguing matchups in Division III, Minneshaug visiting Hingham.
Minneshaug is, I applaud them. They're a Western Mass team that always takes on challenges from Central Mass and Eastern Mass. This year they traveled to Barnstable week 1. They also played Doherty early in the season. Hingham's a pretty impressive team, though. I saw them play against Marshfield. It was not a game at all. The game didn't play out at all how I expected it to. It was only 7-6, but I think that spoke volumes about that Hingham defense. They've been in some tight battles this year. They're going to be able to pull away in this one and beat Minneshaug.
Yeah, that travel is going to take a little toll on Minneshaug, and I'm just go with Hingham in this one.
Yeah, Hingham is a team to watch. I think a lot of people are sleeping on them a little in D3 because D3 is so deep, but don't. They're the 4 seed for a reason. TJ Burns done a really nice job there. The Harbormen could be a factor on this side of the bracket. I won't be surprised if they end up in a state semifinal either. Next up, we have Marshfield and Malden Catholic. This is another intriguing matchup. And I think for a lot of people out there, Malden Catholic is kind of seen as a lower-tier Catholic Conference team, but this is a pretty skilled team that can go on the road and potentially win a playoff team against a Marshfield team that's young but playing better and battle-tested.
They are battle-tested. They've won 6 in a row. They started off the year, lost to Methuen, blowout loss to St. John's Prep. Then they've rattled off 6 in a row. They beat some pretty quality opponents along the way here, too. They beat Bridgewater Raynham. They beat Hingham already. So they've stacked some nice wins here. And like I said, the defense plays well. Charlie Leach is a very good linebacker. And Phoenix Beauregards emerged as a nice running back. So it doesn't look like it has in the past for Marshfield. I think they're more well-rounded. I think they're a little bit more physical up front. They're able to run the ball, and they play good defense. The Rams are going to win this one. And just looking ahead, if seeding holds, like if you get Marshfield against him, I mean, really across the board, the Division III quarterfinals have the chance to be really special.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go to the other side. Actually, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mukala. You didn't give us a pick there.
I'm gonna go with Marshfield. I don't know if Malden Catholic will be able to handle the pace that Marshfield plays with, especially when they go no huddle. And also health-wise, I know some of those guys from Malden Catholic were injured and didn't play against Zavarian. Their big receiver didn't play, and a couple other skill guys didn't play. So health is going to be a factor. I'm sure they'll play this game, but I don't know how healthy they'll be. So that's going to be a factor.
All right. Next up, we go to the other side of the Division III bracket. The 2-seed Barnstable hosting Doherty, who's going to be driving down from Worcester. Doherty's the 15th seed.
Barnstable's going to win this one. They're an impressive team. They're undefeated against in-state competition. Only loss was to LaSalle of Rhode Island. They're very impressive. I think they can be susceptible against the pass. I saw that last week against Bridgewater Raynham. But up front with the Armstrong brothers, Hassan and Ronell, really good. I think this is the most physical Barnstable team that they've had in over a decade, I would say. And they're able to run the ball. Jason Dyer, I think he's a kid that's capable of handling the ball 30 times a game, and he's one of the better backs in the state. So I think they're going to go as he goes in the postseason, and they start here with a nice win against Doherty.
Yeah, Doherty, early in the season, they played They played Leominster pretty tough. They didn't win that game, but they played them tough. I think they only lost by a touchdown or so. But yeah, Barnstable undefeated in the state. They had a big win to close out the regular season. I think that continues with their streak of in-state victories.
All right, and if Barnstable does win, then they get the winner of the 7-10 matchup, an all-hawk matchup, North Attleboro hosting Milford.
Is the MIAA website right? Is this game really being played at Community Field?
I mean, I would think they are, and maybe North is trying to rekindle the magic with that. They played all their home games at the high school field so far. We played them over there earlier in the season. So if it is, it's awesome. It's fantastic if it is. But if in fact it is, they do have a pretty good home field advantage there.
They do, and I think that's probably my favorite venue in the state. I absolutely love
my
Community
favorite
Field.
venue that I've coached in the state outside of
Georgia. It's the best. So I hope that's right, and they're bringing that back. It has like a big game feel when you walk into Community Field, especially when the weather's a little bit cooler. Just feels like a big game. Milford started off hot. They're kind of a weird team. They beat Wellesley. They really beat up on Leominster, and then things really, sort of tailed off for them in the second half of the year. North Attleboro, I know they're playing some young guys right now. They're not quite as experienced and as big as they have been in past years, but they still have that physicality. They're still able to run the ball. Big Red wins this one here by a couple scores.
Look, you say the home field advantage is definitely going to play a part in this postseason, and with the way North Attleboro runs their offense, I think they'll be in control of this game. Up front, they'll control the line of scrimmage. So I'm gonna go with North Attleboro.
Yeah, and I think you bring up a good point, Mukala, in that running game is you get Frankie Strachan going downhill. It's tough to stop, and North Attleboro certainly has a formula for success this time of year. The 3-14 matchup in this bracket is a good one, too. Another sleeper matchup here, especially when we look at all the brackets in total. This could be one of the best games of the weekend. Milton, the number 3 seed, hosting number 14 seed Reading. The thing with the Rockets is this program isn't what it once was. But don't sleep on John Fiore in this program. He's done a great job there. They're tough. They're physical. They can hang with this Milton team and make this a game.
They can. I do think, 3 versus 14, I think a lot of people just expect it to be a blow. I don't think that'll be the case. I think Reading will be able to hang in there for the majority of the game, at least through the first half, probably well into the second half. But Milton has too much skill. Patrick Collins, Ronan Salmon, those guys, they're going to get it done. Wildcats win.
Yeah, Milton, I mean, last week, they only 21 points. They didn't have as many big offensive plays like they normally would, but they had enough to win over Natick, and their defense played solid as well. Came up big in the second half. I think Reading's going to be able to put up some points, but I just think Milton's going to be a little bit too much for them.
All right, and the final matchup in Division III features Masconomet hosting Melrose. Another really good matchup here. Melrose kind of an underrated team, a team that a lot of people haven't talked about in Division III, but I also think you can make the same argument for Masco. I mean, we know what Jack Fabiano's done all year long. He's been terrific there for the Chieftains. This should be a really good matchup here. A game that really you could make the argument could go either way.
Yeah, like Melrose, they have kind of flown under the radar here. I think you definitely can't sleep on a Tim Moore's team when you get to this time of year. They've made, four appearances at Gillette in the last 10 to 12 years, something like that. It's an impressive program. This Masco team is a little bit different, though. A lot of skill returning from that group last year. This is a talented senior class. Masco wins this one. I really like the offense. Jack Fabiano's playing like a top 3 to 5 running back in the state right now, and Chieftains keep it rolling.
Yeah. I think Masco, they want to get to Gillette. I think they're definitely going to ride the back of Jack Fabiano. He's been a workhorse all season long, and I just think Masco they've played in a lot of big games this season, and that the game against Marblehead really said a lot about them, and just how poised that team is. So I'm gonna go Masco with this one.
All right, we're going to move on to Division 4, where your number 1 seed is Scituate. Herb Devine Sailors, another impressive season for them. They finished 7-1. They host Tantascwa Regional on Friday night.
Tantascwa's had a nice season. They've had some nice wins against lower division teams. Scituate's just going to be a different beast. That defense is really playing well right now for Scituate. I'd be surprised if they gave up more than 14 points in this game. Things are starting to click for the Sailors.
Yeah, Scituate looking to add another trophy to their trophy case. So I think they're going to start off the postseason well with a sound victory.
All right, and if they win, and we expect them to hold serve, here's the 1 seed, they will get the winner of the 8-9 matchup, Bedford versus Walpole. Bedford is the host in this one.
Bedford's good. Their only losses are to 2 very good teams in Shawsheen and Canton. They're 6-2. They beat Lincoln Sudbury. Mackay Volsey's a real problem off the edge for the Buccaneers. It's tough to sleep on Coach Sullivan or pick against Coach Sullivan and Walpole once you get to this time of year. Though they flip the switch, they turn it on. They've done it the last few years. They don't have Noah McKenzie this time around, but I expect similar things. I think Walpole rekindles that November magic, at least for one round. It pulls off this win here.
If there was a moment, if there was ever a time for a player to take over a game and lead his team to a run in the postseason, it'd be this time. And I think Mackay Volsey, he's talented enough to do so, offensively and defensively. I think this young man is really, really skilled, and I think he might be able to just pull it off and put the team on his back in this one. I'm gonna lean towards Bedford in this one.
Yeah, the BC commit is one of the best players in the playoffs and certainly a player to watch. The 4-13 matchup features Duxbury Holliston, 2 programs that have a lineage of success, championship success. Both programs have played at Gillette plenty in recent years. This could be a better matchup than people think. I know a lot of people are going to look at Holliston and say Tri-Valley, 13 seed. I would get that thought out of your head. Mike Uroff has an experienced staff there. This is a well-coached team. Duxbury is younger than they've been in the past. They've had some ups and downs this season. This could be a better game than people think.
I think it will be. Duxbury's not, again, they just don't have the experience. They've lost a lot off of, due to graduation and being rated by prep schools. So Duxbury's, again, it's Duxbury. It's tough to go down there and play. It's tough to go there and win. I think you'd be foolish to kind of dismiss this team just because they haven't played up to their standards here in the regular season. I think this has the potential to be close, but I can't pick against Duxbury.
Yeah, me either. I can't pick against Duxbury, especially this time around. And they're another team. They have that formula for postseason football with that strong running game, controlling the line of scrimmage. They're going to start off with a good one for the postseason. Move on. I got Duxbury.
All right, the 5-12 matchup, I think, is a really good matchup here. You have undefeated Burlington at 8-0, taking on Dartmouth. Dartmouth, of course, finishing the season at 6-2. They were playing some really good football there for a while. This is a pretty intriguing matchup. Ryan Brooks, one of the best players in the division, will be featured in this game. Should be a good game. It'll be a better game than I think people think. They're going to look at Burlington and say they're undefeated, but this Dartmouth team is pretty good.
Dartmouth is pretty good, and Rick White's done a nice job with that program. It's another team that's won a couple state championships about a decade ago at this point. They're pretty much always in the playoff mix. I don't think expectations were too high, at least from outside the program, when you lose guys like Jackson Hart, Ray Grimlich, and they've rebounded and they've been able to have a good year, 6-2. Tough losses to Barnstable and Bridgewater Raynham, but this Dartmouth team is good. It's a tall task, though, I think, for them to pull this one off. Burlington's coming off one of their best regular seasons in years, and you've got a player like Ryan Brooks on the other side. This Burlington team's really good. I think the Red Devils, improved to 9-0 and advanced to the quarterfinals.
Yeah, I agree with you, Tyler. Burlington is really good. They've had some impressive wins this season. They're playing really well. They're going to keep that undefeated streak going and move on to the quarterfinals.
All right, we go to the other side of the bracket. The 2-15 matchup features Tewksbury, who's been one of the most dominant programs in the state through the regular season. They host the 15-seed Middleborough.
Against their competition, I think Tewksbury's been the most dominant. Like pound for pound, they've been the most dominant team in the state this year. I had to do a double take on that score last week. I was, flipping through some scores, and to see they're up 34-0 on Andover at halftime, win that game 41-14 is just really eye-opening. For Andover's, as we talked about, they're a Division I playoff team, and Tewksbury's a D4 team, and they were able to go there and really take it to Andover. They have a lot of weapons on offense. They really high scoring, but they're balanced as well. Will Harrison at quarterback, Emeka Olu, terrific running back. Redmond keep it rolling here. I think they're the best team in Division. I think they're the best team in Division 4, and they keep that undefeated season rolling along here.
Yeah. Tewksbury is just well-rounded. That team, they have a threat everywhere. They've beaten all the competition that they faced, especially in the conference matchups that they have. I think it's going to continue. Tewksbury is going to roll in this one.
All right, next up, we're going to take a look at the 7-10 matchup. Ashland hosting Danvers.
I think Danvers goes on the road here and pulls off an upset. They're coming off a really nice win. Their best win of the year last week over Marblehead, 21-7. To be able to hold that Marblehead team to 7 points, I think it's going to do a lot for the confidence of that Danvers defense. And then running back Zach Foltz is a nice player as well. Falcons go on the road and win this one.
Yeah, it's quite the draw for Ashland to have this be their opening round opponent. Danvers has played really well this season. That win was big against Marblehead for them to go on the road and get that one. I agree. I think Danvers will go on the road and pull this one out.
All right, next up we have the 3-14 matchup. Canton coming off a huge win at Mansfield last week, their first win over the Hornets in 35 years. That's hard to believe. I mean, there are grown men walking around there with families and established careers that have grown up into that life, and Canton has not beaten Mansfield in that time. It's crazy. They host Wakefield, the 14 seed.
So, yeah, I actually didn't even pick up on that from last week. So that was the first time in my life that Canton beat Mansfield. That is insane.
The last time that they beat Mansfield, I was 15 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. It's hard to believe I was 15 at one time.
Canton's an impressive team. I saw them against Foxborough. I was really impressed with the defense. They lost a close one to the Warriors in that one. John, you know as well as anyone, the Hockomock League's going to have you ready for the playoffs. Canton's going to be ready. They win this one.
Yeah, Canton, as you said, coming off a big win last week, that's quite the way to close out regular season play. That momentum is going to carry over. They'll get Wakefield in this one.
All right, next up we have the 6-11 matchup, which features Marblehead against Shepherd Hill.
I always find it interesting when you have a regular season like Marblehead and Shepherd Hill, and then they somehow find each other again in the playoffs, especially in round one. Marblehead went to Shepherd Hill and won earlier in the regular season. Magicians do the same thing this time around.
Yeah, Marblehead, despite losing their last 2 games of the season, they've had a really good season. They played really well. They played some good football all year long. I think they'll get this win.
All right, you are watching the high school preview show presented by Gold Athletics. I'm your host, John Sarianides. As always, I'm joined by Tyler Amaral and Mukala Kabongo, and we do want to remind you that we are brought to you by Gold Athletics. Visit goldathletics.com for all your fundraising needs. Matt Ross and his team can put you on a path to making money. Visit goldathletics.com today to find a fundraiser that works for you, your community, and your program. Again, visit goldathletics.com for more information. All right, gentlemen, we're going to have to go a little bit more at a quicker pace here. We're going to enter Division 5, 3 divisions to go, and we're going to take a look at some of the top matchups out of state as well. In Division 5, your number 1 seed is Shawsheen. The Rams looking to go back-to-back. They host the 16 seed, Salem. Can they scare the Witches here?
The Rams can definitely go back-to-back. A lot of talent on this team. terrific defense, longest winning streak in the state. They don't lose on their home field. Rams win.
Yeah, yeah. I'm going with Shawsheen. They've been the best team in that division all year long. Strong offense, strong defense. Potentially got a rematch with St. Mary's if things hold up. So I'm going with Shawsheen in this one.
All right, next up is the 8-9 matchup, a game you'll be at Mukala. St. Mary's hosting Greater Lawrence Tech.
I think this is a pretty interesting game. Greater Lawrence features Gustavo Varela, a nice running back for Greater Lawrence, over 20 touchdowns this year. He's put up some really eye-popping numbers. St. Mary's has played a tough schedule, though. I think they'll be ready. Spartans win this one.
Yeah, I think St. Mary's will win this one. I'm pretty sure they want to get another shot at Shawsheen. They probably felt like they had that first meeting, except minus the final minute. But Greater Lawrence, if you want to beat them, you're gonna have to stop that running back Gustavo. He's been a workhorse. He's tough. He's a tough back to bring down, and sometimes he gets the ball 40 times. So Spartans need to tackle him. If they don't tackle him and let him get yards after the carry, it's going to be tough. But St. Mary's is going to come out with the win.
All right, the 4-13 matchup features undefeated Medfield taking on Northwest Metro RVT. Who do you got in this one? Can they stop Brady McCormick and the Warriors running game?
No, and I think Medfield's they're a good
it's
story,
Northeast,
man.
by the way, not Northwest.
Yeah,
The eyes have failed me.
I think Medfield's tough. Like, this team wasn't very good last year. They were 4-7, missed the playoffs, but they had a guy like McCormick returning, and they put together a nice season here, undefeated regular season. McCormick's a special player. He's going to be the difference in this one.
Yeah, too much McCormick. He's going to have himself a day for them, and Medfield's going to move on.
Yeah, and don't forget Mateo Benson, his running mate. He's had a really good year as well. That's a good football team, and they're a team that I think a lot of people are. I don't want to say that they're taking for granted, but this is a team that can get to a semifinal and take on Shawsheen and potentially pose a legitimate threat here. Division 5 is deeper than it's been in recent years, so I think it's going to make for a pretty compelling playoff run here in D5. All right, the 5-12 matchup features North Reading and Marlboro.
North Reading wins this one. They probably have the most experienced skill position group returning in Division 5. A lot of talent returning for the Hornets. They're like a sneaky bet to return to Gillette Stadium. This is a good team. North Reading wins this one.
Yeah, North Reading, they're going to start off this postseason with a bang, move on.
All right, on the other side of the bracket, we have the 2-15 matchup, which features Foxborough and Norton. Some familiar faces in this matchup. Norton head coach Jim Arts, of course, was the longtime offensive coordinator at Foxborough. He also played at Foxborough under Jack Martinelli. So some ties in this game here. Should be a good test for the Warriors right out of the gate, though. This Norton team could score some points. They
can. It should be an interesting game, but that Foxborough defense is really good. They're well coached. They're disciplined. They have a lot of talent. Extremely physical. I don't think Norton's matched up with a team that plays with that level of physicality yet this year. And I think I just get the hunch that Ryan Foley's just going to handle it 25 to 30 times a game from here on out. And he's a really good player. Foxborough wins.
Yeah, I'm going Foxborough. They want to get back to Gillette and try to, right last year's wrong and bring another trophy to Foxborough. So Foxborough with this one.
All right, next up is the 7-10 matchup. It features Gloucester and Auburn.
This is an interesting one. Auburn's had some big wins, especially against the lower division teams there in Central Mass, but then they also had a lopsided loss to Doherty to close out the regular season. Gloucester has been pretty steady throughout the year. They had that tough loss to Winthrop last week. I think they get back on the winning track here. Defend home field. Gloucester wins.
Yeah, I'm going with Gloucester in this one. They have 3 really good running backs that can really make plays. Joseph Allen, he's been really good. Jaden Severino as well. They've got some guys that can make big plays. So 7-6 loss to to Winthrop last week. I think Winthrop was a little more desperate because they needed that win to get into the playoffs. So I'm going Gloucester in this one.
All right, the 3-14 matchup features Hanover hosting Weston.
One thing about Hanover, they're always going to have a prolific passing attack. Max Moore and first-year starters really, taking off there at quarterback this year. Brandon Errico, I think, is one of the more underrated playmakers in the state. Also got guys like Sebastian Brown. Too many weapons here. Hawks win.
Yeah, Hanover with this one, they just have a little too much for Weston.
And finally, the 6-11 matchup, and I think it could be the best matchup of the weekend in Division 5, features Archbishop Williams, who went undefeated this year, taking on Swampscott. Got a really good matchup here of two programs that one program has a rich history of tradition. The other program's been up and down. Is Archbishop Williams a legitimate threat in D5? I think a lot of people are asking that. We talk about Shawshene, we talk about Foxborough, we talk about Medfield, we talk about Hanover, but are we not looking at this Archbishop Williams team close enough? Are they good enough to win it all?
I think they are. The schedule wasn't overly challenging. I think kind of expectations were just sort of in flux. We didn't really know what to expect, and then you find out that they had Hudson Garrity and Zay Wiggum transferring in. So they're good. They're definitely good. They can make some noise here. I think they absolutely can make a run to at least the semifinals. I'm looking forward to this one. I'll be there. Swampscott coach Peter Bush does as well as anyone on the defensive side of the ball, though, and I think he'll have his guys ready. Ultimately, though, I think Archie just has a little bit more skill, and they'll be able to win this one. I think it'll be close, though, something like 27-21, something like that. If Hanover and Archie's both win, we'll set up the Landolfi Bowl there next week.
Yeah.
Well, Swampscott, what they got an advantage. They were in the semifinals last year. They got a couple guys that were on that team last year, some returners that got the experience. Archbishop Williams, kind of inexperienced at some, at this stage, not making the postseason last year or so. But I think this will be a good one because Archbishop Williams do have some guys that could really get out there and make some plays. But I think experience might help Swampscott in this one. I think John Von Barta and Will Bush are going to find a way to get this road victory.
All right, we're going to move on to Division 6. The number 1 seed in Division 6 is Norwell. They open the playoffs taking on the 16th seed, Joseph Case.
Norwell wins. They're a very good team. Jack Lucarelli's a special player. Clippers win.
Yeah, I'm going with Norwell in this one. I mean, yeah, they're just head and shoulders better than this team.
All right, the 8-9 matchup features Pentucket Regional against Nantucket.
How do you feel about this one? A playoff game being played Friday at 2 p.m.
If you thought I hated the 6 p.m. kickoffs, you should see my feelings about 2 p.m. kickoffs.
2 p.m. on a Friday.
So what they did?
Says playoffs like 2
They're not
p.m.
going to have.
I mean, at that point, if you're Pentucket, give the kids a day off.
Right. Are they not going to have school
by the
that
time
day?
you drive down to Mattapoisett to jump on the ferry to go to – well, actually, no. I take it back.
It's the other way around.
Yeah, it's the other way around. My bad. They're hosting. So Nantucket's got to get on the ferry, come to the mainland, and then drive to Pentucket. Give the Whalers the day off. The football players should not have school on Friday. If you're going to play at 2 o'clock, they can't have school.
Why is this game playing at 2 o'clock?
I don't know. No one knows.
Well, it's because they have to get back to catch the boat, but I don't know why it's not Saturday.
I'm assuming, it's ferry related.
It's definitely ferry related. I just don't know why the game's not on Saturday, but whatever.
I agree.
Common sense. Common sense.
Common sense is uncommon, though, my friends.
Right.
Nantucket's 8-0. They're a pretty nice story there. Former Springfield Central player Corey Everett is the head coach at Nantucket. He's done a nice job here. It's only his second year. He's got that program heading in the right direction. Of course, they won by forfeit last week. The annual Island Cup, Martha's Vineyard had to forfeit due to low numbers in the program. It's a brutal road trip, and this Pentucket team is pretty good. That Cape Ann League was difficult this year. Pentucket wins.
Yeah, I'm going with Pentucket in this one. I mean, a lot of circumstance in this game while picking Pawtucket, but the 2:00 game on a Friday, that's hilarious.
Yeah. It's a head scratcher, and to Tyler's point, why not just play Saturday? It just makes no sense. All right, the 4-13 matchup features Wilmington versus Old Rochester. This should be a really good matchup. Old Rochester getting in, we know how physical they can be. They like to run the football, but this Wilmington team has been a nice story this season.
They have been a nice story. First-year head coach Joe Cavanaugh done a fantastic job with the team. Old Rochester's really young, so they're a team to watch in 26 and 27. They might be one of the favorites in Division 6. They played much better down the stretch. I just think Wilmington has a nice group this year, and they're going to win this one by a touchdown.
Yeah, Wilmington definitely, they've had a really good season. In these types of games, I'm just looking at the travel for Old Rochester. That's going to play a part in this one. So I think Wilmington will get the victory in this one.
All right, the 5-12 matchup features the defending D6 champs, Hudson, taking on a good Bellingham team. They did have a tough loss down the stretch against Medfield, but this is a team that's really well coached. This could be a high-scoring game between these two teams.
Yeah, I think Bellingham is pretty good. They've had kind of an up-and-down season. They've had some they were like the only team in the TVL that played Ashland close. This Hudson team, though, you talk about teams flying under the radar. They graduated a lot from last year's state championship team, but they returned some core pieces, and this is still a really good team. It's a good program now under Coach Zach Attaway. Hudson's a team that can make some noise here in D6 again. They win this one.
Yeah, Hudson's gonna make a run to try to get another one. So I think they'll start off with a good one and get the win.
All right, we're gonna move over to the other side of the bracket. The 2-15 matchup features Abington. I know Mukala's probably got some intel there about the Green Wave. They take on Triton Regional.
Abington's tough. It's like I saw them play against Norwell. They won the game. Their backfield depth is unrivaled, unmatched for any program, really. Never mind teams in D6. When the game's still in balance and neutral game script and it's a close game, they'll use 5-6 backs and they trust all of them. It's really impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Coach Ed Riley's done a nice job here, stepping in for or taking over for Coach Kelleher now in his second year here. Green Wave win this one though. But Triton running back Carl Lucy's had a nice season. I think he's over 20 touchdowns now. He's broken some records this year for Triton, but Abington wins.
Yeah, I'm going with Abington. Those guys from inside sources, they've been really focused this week in practice, and they really want to get to Gillette. They're still upset for not being the number 1 seed in Division 6. So that's a little chip on their shoulder for that one. So the Green Wave is gonna get this win.
All right, and if the Green Wave holds serve, they will host the winner of the 7-10 matchup, Bishop Fenwick versus Medway.
Medway's been sort of up and down this year, as has Fenwick. Fenwick's played a pretty challenging schedule, though. Dylan Patarelli is one of the better players in D6. Fenwick wins.
Yeah, Fenwick wins. They got a young quarterback, but they got some good playmakers around him. They're home. They should be fine. Fenwick for the win.
All right, the 3-14 matchup features another team that I think we need to keep an eye on, and that's Derek Almeida's Fairhaven Blue Devils. They host the 14 seed East Bridgewater.
Fairhaven's tough. They obviously lost Justin Marks. The defense isn't what it has been the last couple of years, but the offense is every bit as good. They have 4 or 5 guys that they trust to run the ball. Aaron Laguz had a nice year. Fairhaven wins this one. Just too much depth.
Yeah, too much depth. They got the experience. They'll get this one. They'll be smooth this one out.
All right, finally, the 6-11 matchup features not the 6-7. The 6-11 matchup features Stoneham and Winthrop. We got the Spartans and the Vikings in the all-time masculine matchup here. Who do we got?
I've got Stoneham. Winthrop was a nice story, though. This team started off, I think, 0-4. And then they were able to win 3 of their last 4, including that 7-6 win over Gloucester. So they're playing well. This should be a good game. I think it'll be low scoring. Both teams like to run the ball. I think it'll be something like 14-7, but Stoneham wins.
Yeah, for Winthrop, you got to watch out for running back Seth Sacco. He's He's been playing really well. He's had some really good games, over 100 yards a couple times. Stoneham the last couple games, they've really been winning 12-7, 7-6, or low. It's been low score. Yeah, there you go. They've been winning these low scoring games the last couple weeks. So let's see if they'll slow down the Vikings in this one. But I think Stoneham is going to pull this one in a low scoring one.
Everybody knows that stupid ass reference, including adults, and it drives me nuts. But yet, every time I hear the name Mike Jones, the first thing that comes to mind is Mike Jones. Mike Jones. Nobody knows that. I'm like, how do you not know Mike Jones? But you know 6'7". It's so stupid.
Well, I actually saw that this mom was fed up with her kids doing the 6'7" thing, so she started saying that just randomly. She started saying to her kids Mike Jones, and they're like, "Mom, what the hell are you talking about? Why do you keep saying that?"
They don't know about Mike Jones. All right, here we go. We're going to go on to Division 7 here. Some pop culture here for you on the high school preview show. So much pop culture, in fact, that Mukala disappeared. Hopefully we get him back here shortly. Here he is. He's back. I thought he was done quitting the show after all the 6-7 references. But after all, we have been previewing Divisions 6 and 7. All right, here we go. The 116 matchup. We've got perhaps the best name in these playoffs, quarterback Michael Wildfire, leading Cohasset against 16-seeded Leicester.
Yeah, listen, you got Wildfire, you got Gus Green, Max Monahan. They always have the lacrosse athletes, but this year the line's a little bit bigger as well. The Skipper's going to be a very tough out in D7. They win this one.
Yeah, Cohasset, you're the 1 seed for a reason. I think they're going to get this one.
All right, next up we have the 8-9 matchup featuring Rockland and Tingsboro.
You talk about great names. The best name is on Rockland, running back Marvelous Pleasant. He is a terrific player as well. I think he has at least 15 touchdowns this year for Rockland. That's another one of my favorite venues in the state. That's an awesome field down there at Rockland. Tingsboro's undefeated, so I'm sure they're going to come into this game with a little bit of a chip on their shoulders as well. Having to go on the road as an 8-0 team. Rockland plays in that grueling league. In the higher to mid divisions, you've got the Hockomock League, but down in D6, 7, 8, you've got the South Shore League. All these teams are battle tested. Rockland's played a tough schedule. Bulldogs win this one.
I'm leaning with the upset with Tingsboro. I think Tingsboro's gonna pull this one in a close one. It might be like a 3 or a 7-point victory.
All righty, next up we have the 4-13 matchup, which features Northbridge. Could this be the last ride for the legendary coach of the Rams, Ken LaChapelle, taking on the upstart Seekonk Warriors and head coach Jason Angelet? This should be a pretty good matchup.
It should be, but Seaconk's not going to be able to contain that passing attack. Ken LaChapelle's grandson, Joel, prolific passer, especially at this level. I believe this is Ken LaChapelle's last ride here, so I think the Rams keep it going here.
Yeah, this is a Northbridge team that was in the semifinals last season. They return a good amount of guys from last year's team, and speaking with them before the season, they said they know what it takes now to get to Gillette. So I think we'll just see Northbridge go on a run this postseason.
Yeah, I agree. And finally, the 5-12 matchup on this side of the bracket in Division 7 features Manchester Essex, who's had a really nice season. They finished 6-2, taking on the 12 seed Millbury.
Manchester Essex wins this one. Millbury plays a pretty challenging schedule against some of the other small school Central Mass powers, but Zach Hurd and company get it done. Manchester Essex is a good team.
Yeah, Manchester Essex they want to bounce back after that game against Amesbury. Amesbury really beat up on them last week. So I think they want to get that bad taste out their mouth and start the postseason off on the right foot.
Speaking of Amesbury, we're going to go to the other side of the bracket. They are your 2 seed. They take on the 15th seed, South Hadley.
Amesbury's been knocking on the door for a while here. I think this might be the year they finally break through. It's a physical team. They have a really good run game. Amesbury's going to win this one.
Yeah, I agree with you. This is my favorite coming out of this division. They've just been playing really well. They put up points. They spread that ball around, and they play solid defense. So I'm going Amesbury.
All right, the defending champs are the 7 seed, Uxbridge. They're going to take on Blue Hills Regional Voc Tech. Can Uxbridge make a run here? I mean, I think coming into the season, we all thought Matt Blood's squad would be the favorite again in Division 7. They certainly looked like it early on. Then they lose to Auburn. They come unglued a little bit here, but I think this is a team that has enough experience back from the last 3 years. They could easily make a run, at least get back to Gillette and give themselves a chance to potentially win another one.
I think they could make a run that. Like, it's just a brutal draw for both teams, both Amesbury and Uxbridge. That's a potential second-round matchup. Camden LaChapelle, he just continues to do his thing. The Uxbridge offense has not been the issue. The defense just hasn't been what it has been over the last few years. And because of that, I don't know if they're quite good enough to pull off the three-peat, but I think they're good enough to beat Blue Hills in this one.
Yeah, I think they're good enough to make teams sweat, and they're going to be a tough out, definitely. Especially when you win it last year, you got the experience, you know what it takes. Uxbridge is going to advance to the next round.
All right, the 3-14 matchup features another team in Division 7 that I think we should probably talk more about, and that's West Bridgewater. Tough matchup here. I think it's one of the best matchups of the weekend in the Division 7 playoffs. They host St. Bernard's.
This should be a good one too. Ty Holmes, Ryan Nunes, those guys, have that West Bridgewater offense flying high. Only losses to Westwood. They gave Fairhaven their only loss in a wild shootout game. West Bridgewater, especially on the offensive side, very strong team. They win this one.
Yeah, I'm going to go with West Bridgewater in this one. Not too familiar with St. Bernard's, but I'll go with West Bridgewater.
All right, finally, the 6-11 matchup. 6-11 features Clinton and Mashpee.
I was at this game last year. They played each other in the state semifinals in Mansfield. Mashpee won that one. I think Clinton avenges that loss. The Gales have a ton returning from last year's team. Clinton wins.
Yeah, it's like Clinton has a lot returning. Mashpee had a lot that graduated. So I think Clinton was going to be the winners of this one.
All right, and finally we go to Division 8. We're going to jump right into it here. The 116 matchup features Neshoba Valley Tech versus Springfield International Charter School.
This is what Danny Kelly wanted when he went out and scheduled Stoneham and Catholic Memorial. It was with the hopes of getting this to #1 seed in Division 8. So they've got that much accomplished so far. They're 6-2, but again, they've played those really tough games in the non-league slate. I think the Vikings are going to be ready. Zach DeShane, terrific player. Vikings win.
Yeah, Neshoba, they've just been really solid all season. This is going to be a breeze for them in this first round.
All right, the A9 matchup features Frontier Regional versus Kip Academy.
Frontier is another team that's had like Tingsboro, that's had a nice season. Probably feels like they're underseeded. With that said, I kind of like this Kip team to go on the road and pull off a slight upset here.
Yeah, I think Kip is going to go on the road and pull this victory out. They're a team. They've been hampered by injuries early on in the season. You know, Machado was he missed some games. They had to put Avion Pena at quarterback for a couple games. They had some other guys that were injured. But everybody's fully healthy now. When they're healthy, their offense is really good and explosive. They put up 40 points last week, and yeah, they're going. It's a long drive, but I think once they get there, they'll be ready.
All right, next up we have the 4-13 matchup, which features a team that I think coming into the season, a lot of people thought could be a potential favorite in Division 8, Randolph hosting Oxford.
Randolph wins. This team's good. I knew they were good, but like they're the 4 seed because their schedule wasn't the most difficult, especially in the non-league slate. So they really needed those opponent points against Mashpee and Cohasset. Those are their toughest games so far this year. For them to go on the road and beat Cohasset 28-27, really eye-opening win for me. Randolph wins this one.
Makai White is one of the best backs we have in the state. This Randolph team, you know what they're gonna do offensively, and it's a matter of can you stop it or not. And you know most teams have shown that they're not able to stop that rushing attack of Randolph. Randolph is my favorite to come out and head to Gillette in this one.
All right, the 5-12 matchup features Hoosick Valley against Blackstone Millville Regional High School. Jamie Caparella's done a really nice job there with that Chargers program.
Yeah, he has. In the this Hoosick Valley team, it's a good program. They're consistently in the Division 8 playoffs. Cornell Bradley's a nice player for the Hurricanes. They get the job done here.
Yeah, give me Hoosick Valley to come out in this one.
All right, next up, we're going to go to the other side of the bracket, and I'm making my way to the other side of the bracket here. We have the 2-15 matchup, which features Lee taking on Narragansett Regional.
Lee's kind of really, I think, flown under the radar here. I think before the season, everyone that follows football in this state expected Randolph, West Boylston, Neshoba Valley Tech to be in the mix. Lee has sort of crept up on teams here. They were the 1 seed for a while. They slipped down to the second in the official bracket. They're undefeated. They've dominated every game to this point. They keep it up here.
Yeah, Lee in a big one in this one. I think Lee will probably have a challenge the next round, but this one they're going to breeze through it.
All right, the 7-10 matchup features Cathedral taking on David Prouty. That game will be played at the former West Roxbury High School.
I think Prouty could keep this one close for a while. I think it's going to be a 1-score game, but Cathedral has a lot of weapons for a team in Division 8. Panthers win this one.
Yeah, Cathedral, they got one of the better receivers. Quarterback is pretty good as well. That matchup will lead if it holds up. I think it will be a very interesting matchup on Cathedral.
All right, the 3-14 matchup features a team that we all thought could potentially four-peat this year, and that's West Boylston hosting Bartlett.
I still think they can. I think this has really become a really tight 4-team race here. I would consider Randolph the favorite in the division at this point, but West Boylston's right there. Don't be surprised if they pull off that 4-peat. We know about Dominic Renzoni. We know Mike Ross wants to run the ball with that double wing offense. Lions win this one.
Yeah, the Lions have the experience. They got the potential of going 4 in a row. Dominic, he's a hell of a running back. West Boylston.
All right, and finally, we have the 6-11 matchup, Bourne versus Lynn Vocational Tech.
It's a tough road trip for Lynn Tech. Bourne's had a nice season here. What are they? They're 6-2, right? Do I have that right?
Yep.
Yeah, 6-2, and losses to West Bridgewater and Fairhaven. So 2 very good teams. They run the double wing as well. They've had a very good defense throughout the year. With that said, though, I think I do lean Lynn Tech in this one. I think their overall schedule is a little bit more challenging, and they'll be ready because of that.
Yeah, Lynn Tech, this is the second time in 3 weeks that they got to make the drive down in that area. They've gotten. I know one of their key guys. I'm not sure if he's going to be playing this week. He got carted off against Whittier Tech. Their running back Anthony Brown, the sophomore running back, is a really good player. But they got other playmakers on there: Jadil Ortega, Eddie Lewis. There's a bunch of playmakers on the team. I think the Tigers, having done that drive already and going down there in that area and winning, I think that'll help them in this one. I think they'll pull out the victory in this one.
All righty, and finally, we're going to take a quick tour around New England here with some of the other matchups. Top matchup in Connecticut this week, or at least one of the top matchups, features Greenwich at Wilton. Wilton is undefeated. Greenwich comes in with 1 loss, and of course, that loss was to New Canaan a couple weeks ago. Should be a really good game here. Can Wilton stop this potent Greenwich running attack? We'll see. Who do you guys like in this one?
I don't think so. I still think Greenwich. I don't even think Greenwich is. I wouldn't even call them the second best team. I think they're more of a 1B to the New Canaan's 1A, and Greenwich.
They'll be the favorite in Class LL.
Yeah, I've got Greenwich.
Yeah, I'm going with Greenwich in this one. They're on the road, but they'll pull this one out.
All right, we got playoffs up in New Hampshire. Class A matchup here, Noble versus Bonnie Eagle.
This is a really fun game. I think these are the second and third. I think they're the second and third best teams in Maine. I think Thornton is the clear favorite and clear best team. Really a pick 'em, but I've got Bonnie Eagle.
Give me Bonnie Eagle in this one. I think they're Bonnie Eagle around this time of the year. They really start playing their best football.
All right, next up in New Hampshire, we've got a Division I playoff matchup, which features Londonderry versus Nashua South.
This is an interesting one. Londonderry, they both teams have big wins over Massachusetts programs. Nashua South beat Malden Catholic. Londonderry, of course, beat Duxbury. Londonderry certainly, didn't play to the standard that they've set throughout the regular season, but Lancers are a good program. They're well coached. I think they win this one.
Yeah, I think Londonderry is going to come out on top of this one. Should be a good game, though.
Yeah, Londonderry is a team to keep an eye on in Division I. I mean, I know Bedford's going to be your favorite. Pinkerton will still be in it. Nashua South is another team to keep an eye on as well. This should be a pretty good game, but I would not be surprised here if Jimmy Lazon's squad pulled this one off and made a little run here. In Rhode Island, we got a big one. St. Ray's hosting Bishop Hendricken. Can the Hawks turn things around and make a state title run here?
Yeah, for sure they can. I think that was a gutsy win last week against Portsmouth.
It was impressive. Come from behind the way they did. Kudos to Keith Croft and his staff. I mean, especially when you consider Portsmouth was undefeated and they lost that game a year ago.
I think this is as good as Division I's ever been in Rhode Island, or at least recently. It's really crowded.
And LaSalle loses to Cranston West last week, which that got a lot of people's attention as well.
Yeah, and then I'm blanking on what do we got? Portsmouth, Cranston West this week, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so a lot of good teams. There's like 6 or 7 really good teams there. It's going to be a fun playoff race. Hendricken's not going to have it as easy as they have in the past, but I think they're going to beat St. Ray's here.
Yeah, I think Hendricken is just going to probably late in this game or late in the second half, they're going to pull away from this one. It'll be a dogfight, but I think Hendricken, just some of the talent that they have and their schedule as well, some of the teams they face this season, I think it's all going to help them out in this one.
All right, finally we go up to Vermont where we're in the second round of the playoffs. Division I has 2 really good games this weekend. You got Burr and Burton taking on Middlebury, and then in the other matchup you have Rutland taking on St. Johnsbury.
In the first game, I think I'm going to lean Middlebury, and then in the second game, I'm going to go St. Johnsbury. I think they will avenge the regular season loss, and I think we'll get a Middlebury and St. Johnsbury in the state title game.
An all-berry matchup.
All berries.
That should be very, very interesting.
Oh, man. Give me St. Johnsbury in this one.
St. Johnsbury. So Mukala's got St. Johnsbury over Rutland. And who do you like in the Burton Middlebury game there, Mukala?
I'll go with Burton.
Burton's bounced back. They had a tough year last year, and they bounced back this year. And I've said it all year. When you study Vermont high school football, that's been a power program up there in recent years. And while I know that Middlebury's been pretty good, St. Johnsbury's been pretty good, Rutland got off to a good start. That Burton team, it would not shock me if you told me, not this weekend, but they'll be playing their state title games next weekend. If you told me on November 16th that they won it all in D1, I would not be surprised. And, of course, Hartford is a prohibitive favorite in D2. They've been the best team in the state all season long. All right. Well, that'll do it for this week's episode of the High School Preview Show. For Mukala, Kabongo, and Tyler Amaral, I'm John Sarianides. Stay tuned to look at my face again here in a couple minutes when I do the college preview show with Ryan Barry. Until next week, get out there and enjoy the games. There's going to be a lot of great playoff action this weekend. Make sure you get out there and bring the umbrella. It looks like it's going to rain, especially on Saturday. But get out there and support these kids. They deserve your support. They've worked hard. Go out there and support them as they attempt to win a state title. Until next time, peace.